Welcome back to From the Shed End. I hope you're all doing well on this Tuesday afternoon. As you can see, I'm back in usual surroundings, back at home, back from the holidays. But before we get into today's video, please make sure you subscribe, you like this video, and you let everyone know that we are still here. Even though it's an international break, we are still trying to put some content out. So make sure, sign of appreciation if you can just like the video, and like I said, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Now, we are going to try and cover off a few things in this video. Some of them being the transfers that we did make, some of them that we didn't make. We're going to look at our squad depth, and we're going to sort of discuss Todd Boehly and Blueco, the sort of 2 years or 2.5 years under Blueco, what it's been like, and can I see some positives that are coming out of this Chelsea squad at the moment. But we're going to start with some transfer news, because obviously we did bring in a couple of players through the summer. We missed out on a couple players that potentially wanted moves away from the club, did not get those moves. So we are going to try and discuss them in this next couple of minutes or so. But I want to talk obviously about Victor Osimhen, which was a big deal that we were trying to get over the line. We were trying to make sure that we had a number 9. Prolific or not, I think he gives other options for Nicholas Jackson and Mark Gu, who clearly are the only two real number 9s at the club at the moment. And I think when you've got someone like Victor Osimhen, who, if I'm honest, I'm glad we never signed in the end. I'm really glad we never signed him. I'm glad we never had our pants pulled down by, the negotiations that were happening with Napoli, with his agent. Obviously he had a really lucrative deal on the table from the Saudi Pro League as well. We offered him, I think, in the region of 150,000, 160,000 a week, the same wages that have been given to him by as part of his loan move to Galatasaray. But I'm very happy. Now, obviously, Athletic did report a couple of times throughout the transfer window, especially the last couple of days of the window, that we were trying different pay structures to get that deal done for the 25-year-old. None of them were of satisfactory for Napoli, for Victor Osimhen and his agent. Even in the final hours, we were trying to get that deal done, and it kind of tells me that he's probably not even that. He's not worth that much anyway. I said before, whenever I've watched him play for Napoli, he doesn't strike me as someone that is amazing. Like, I don't see the fuss about him. Is he a step up and an upgrade from Nicholas Jackson and Mark Gu? 100% he is. But I think for the money that we were going to be paying, the wages, and you got to think now, the owners have tried to trim down the wage bill, the weekly outgoings, the monthly outgoings at the club. And I think him coming in, if he wasn't willing to come in and fit into that pay structure that we've got now at the club, then let's not pay over the odds for him. He's not a youthful player coming through the ranks. He's at his peak year, so of course, you are going to pay a little bit more for him in terms of transfer fee and wages. But I just think for the player, what he's done so far in Napoli, the fact he was trying to demand more, the fact he had a lucrative deal on the table from Saudi, which I think was 3 times what we were offering, or at least 2 times what we were offering him at Chelsea. And he didn't want to take that. He wanted the move to Chelsea. So there's definitely some talk and some inkling that we might go back in for him. Obviously, he's moved to Galatasaray. He's got that move done. Napoli said that they were washing their hands of him. He wasn't going to be part of Antonio Conte's team. Romelu Lukaku's clearly there. He was their replacement that they brought in for him. He's also got the number 9 shirt off Osimhen now as well. So there was definitely no way back for Victor Osimhen back at Napoli at all. The loan move, I think, his last ditch attempt from not just him but his agent. According to a lot of reports, his agent was not involved in the move to get him to Galatasaray. He had, he negotiated that deal himself. So, it tells me that he was very desperate to move away from the Italian club. I still think we will go back in for him in January. And the reason I say that is because part of that loan deal, whilst he's at Galatasaray, there is a break in the contract, in the clause, that a club can come in and sign him in the winter window. I think that's going to be us. I think we'll get the deal done. I think at that point in the season, we'll know as well whether we're going to be chasing for top 4 or whether we're going to be chasing for one of the Europa League spots or the Conference League again. We might be, in the latter stages of the Conference League. We might be in one of the domestic cups still, or we'll definitely be in the FA Cup, but the League Cup, we could be getting to the final of that. So I think, and obviously the Club World Cup's coming up as well, not too far in the near distant future. So I think we're going to go back in for Victor Osimhen. I think we really tried to get that deal done on the deadline day or the day before deadline day. It just never worked. It never happened. And I think because of that, we're going to go in for him. I think we really will. We'll go out all out, guns blazing. I just don't want us to go overboard with the wages. I don't want us to go out. I want us to really assess him while he's at Galatasaray as well. I think, obviously the move for me doesn't make sense while he's in the Turkish Super League. But I think whilst he's there, he still needs to hit the numbers that he thinks he can be hitting in the Premier League whilst he's away. He's a player that's going to be keeping himself fit while he's over there. There was a thought that if the Saudi window shuts like it did on Monday and he still hasn't got a club, then what does that mean for him? Because he would just be training for the next 4 or 5 months. And for someone like his caliber, if he wants that big move to Chelsea or the Saudi Pro League or another team in Europe, he's going to have to be playing week in, week out. So I think that was always going to be a difficult one for Chelsea to get over the line, because obviously, again, we just brought in Jadon Sancho. We'd moved on Raheem Sterling. We brought in João Felix, Pedro Neto as well. So a lot of incomings were coming in. And I just think we just didn't get the deal done. I do think we'll come back in for him. Do I think he's the answer for Chelsea's number 9 solution? I honestly don't really know 100% if he is. I personally don't think that he's going to be the one that's going to be prolific in the Premier League. I think it's a really difficult league to come into. Better strikers have struggled, especially in their first couple of seasons in the Premier League. So I don't think if we do sign him, we're going to see a massive change and a dramatic change in shifting, the goals that we're not scoring at the moment. I think we're still going to struggle, if I'm being 110% honest. But we'll have to see how that works out and how that pans out. Now, obviously, Ben Chilwell, another one that did not get a move in the window. I think there are a couple of windows still open. I'm not 100% sure when the Turkish window shuts, but there are talks that he's trying to get a loan deal done if that window is still open. But if it isn't, then it is a shame for Ben Chilwell, because I do think, another player, Davide Washington as well, 2 players that clearly had deals on the table for them. I think one was for Strasbourg, for Washington. The deal was off, then it was on, then it was back off again, then it was back on, then it was off. So he looks like he's going to be playing in the development squad for the majority of this part of the season until the window reopens again. And Ben Chilwell, another one. Maresca said very early on that Ben Chilwell is not really in my plans at the moment. He's not someone that I consider ahead of Cucurella or ahead of Renato Vega. So it looks like he's now fell down the pecking order. He might see himself out of favour to the point where he's not even playing in the Conference League, or he's not playing in the Carabao Cup. We might just see him playing in the development squad, which is a shame for Ben Chilwell. But we got to see Raheem Sterling, someone that wanted out the club. He was told very, very early on, the statement that he put out, which I still think is wrong from Raheem Sterling. We got to see that he basically done all he could to get out of Chelsea as quick as possible. He's obviously got onto the phone to his agent. His agents brokered the deal for him to go to Arsenal. I think that's a really poor move from us. Not because of the experience or the lack of experience we won't have now. But I just think with Raheem Sterling, we're still paying £200,000 a week for his wages. Arsenal only paying 100 grand to think of that, of his 300 grand wages. So, and we've also potentially strengthened the rival that are going for the Premier League as well. So I get it. Look, he was never going to play for Chelsea whilst Maresca's there. The club want to try and get some sort of money, whether it's 20%, 10% off the books in terms of the wage bill. They wanted to shrink it down. They've done that by allowing him to move, and Arsenal paying 100,000 of the wages. But I do think we've strengthened Arsenal. I know they've still got issues without their prolific goal scorer as well, but someone that can play off that left side now. I know Martinelli's played there before. Sterling can play right side as well. Saka can play there as well, but it just gives them another option at Arsenal. And I'm never for trying to strengthen rivals at all. And I think we've done that. When we sold Jorginho there and David Luiz, it was a different story. I still think Raheem Sterling has, we've seen it with Kai Havertz now as well. There's elements of their game that they still can put into practice and put into play and make something happen. And I think Raheem Sterling is one of those players there, clearly fell out of favour with the manager, fell out of favour with some of the fans as well. Interesting how that's going to unfold for him at the Emirates, because, again, Arsenal fans, they don't give players much time. If you don't hit the ground running, you're not doing anything for them, you're not playing consistently well at any club, but more so for a team like Arsenal, they don't give you much time. So Raheem Sterling has to hit the ground running with them and be able to get the ball rolling with them there. Now, obviously, we did lose Conor Gallagher, another player. Chelsea through and through, Cobham boy, went to Atletico. Right move for him. I kind of touched on it earlier in the week, last week, but right move for Conor Gallagher. I think he had to go. Someone that just, again, I think he'll do really well. He is a Diego Simeone player. He loves a player that's got a good engine on him, good in the midfield, breaks up play. That's Conor Gallagher's job, and get forward as well. So I think he'll do really well at Atletico. And again, it's obviously a shame to see him leave the club, but some players have to go, and that's unfortunately he has to go. He's one of them. Now, I do want to talk about some key areas, and I want to try and bring up some squad depth that we've got in this team, because I look at this team and let's go on here. Now, a lot of talk was about the squad depth at Chelsea and the fact that we do have a lot of players still on the books, which I understand. I get, I'm not stupid. But I just want to show you guys this, because I actually don't think we've got that much squad depth. I really don't. I know we've got players in here, and on paper, it looks like a lot of players. But when you look at let's start with the goalkeepers, for instance, right? So we already know Petrovic has gone on loan. Bettinelli's not going to get a game. The two goalkeepers that are fighting for number one position is going to be Jorgensen and Robert Sanchez. That's clear as day. They're the two that's going to be fighting it out for them. Bergstrom's not going to get a chance, I don't think, personally, at all. Now, right back again, we know Reece James is crippled, basically. I think Reece James, I said it at the start of this season, I said it at the back end of last season, and I said it during the summer. If Reece James can't stay fit, we need to get rid of him. And I wish we didn't have to get rid of him, because I think on his day he's one of the best at what he does, but we have to get rid of him. If he can't do a job for us, we have to get rid of him, because we can't afford to carry people in this team on very good wages. There's other options out there that we should be trying to explore. If I was the owners, I was the scouts, I was the sporting directors, I would be looking at that position and thinking, right, we've literally, as our first team, first choice right backs, we've got Reece James and Malo Gusto. Malo Gusto, I think he's doing a really good job at right back. But again, he's just withdrew from the under-21 French squad because he's already injured. So that tells you already that we've got lack of depth. And I don't think he'll be back for the Bournemouth game either. Neither will Reece James. So that gives us an ultimatum or a dilemma, even more so than we needed to have. I would be looking at other options away from Reece James. I would cash in. I think Real Madrid, they'll come knocking for Trent Alexander-Arnold. So, there was always that talk about whether Reece James could end up at Real Madrid. I don't think that will happen now. I think they'll go for Trent, especially with his contract running down. But if we can't keep Reece James fit, we have to let him go. We have to let him go. He's missed too much football. Too much football. The captain can't miss that much football at any club. It's a shame for him, because I said on his day, he's one of the best right backs in the world. He can deliver a ball into the box and put a ball onto the plate for you to finish. But he's just not good enough. He's not good enough in terms of keeping himself fully fit. And hopefully we get to see a consistency in him and his run of games. But for him to be already injured now, hasn't played a competitive game because of the suspension he picked up at the back end of last season. It's a worry. It's a massive worry for Reece James. So I think, again, we don't have much squad depth at right back. You look at the centre backs, obviously we've got Levi Colwell, Badiashile, Wesley Fofana, Tosun, Axel Dizazi as well. 5 centre backs. Now, again, we're going to pick up injuries along the way, especially in those kind of defensive areas, in my opinion. Now, Dezazi and Badiashile, one of the two. I think Dezazi might end up leaving more so. Newcastle were interested in before the window shuts. I think we will see one of those potentially go in the winter window. If not the winter window, 100% by the summer window. I think one of the two will go. Fofana, we have to see if he can play a full season. You know, he came back from 2 massive injuries, almost back-to-back injuries, and he's missed a lot of football. If he can't stay fit, we still need cover. That's where I think Tosin and Dezazi come into play. You know, so I don't think, again, we've got much depth. We've got rotation, which any club will do. You know, any club will rotate their defenders. You know, as I said, we've got Conference League games, we've got the Carabao Cup, we've got the FA Cup, we've got league games. So we're going to have to rotate those defenders anyway. Now, Levi Colwill in that left centre-back role is going to be the key one for us, I think, this season. You know, he has to step up. You know, he's obviously come in with a lot of expectation from his time in the youth setup, going on loan at Brighton, coming back. So I think we need to see the best out of Levi Colwill this season. And Badiashile is always going to be a question mark for me. So I think I look at that, and a lot of people say, you know, you've got a lot of you know, cover in certain areas. Right now, our defenders don't have that. I'm going to go on to our left backs as well. You know, as I've just said before, Ben Chilwell was out of the frame, so that only leaves 2 now. If Marco Correa gets injured, or Renato Vega gets injured, or both get injured again, we're still at that same position that we was when we had Marcos Alonso there and Ben Chilwell, and you know, we were still struggling to keep both of them fit at one point during the COVID seasons. So again, I don't see where the depth is in left back. We've got enough cover, but I wouldn't say it's astronomical in terms of, you know, how the media are portraying it and how certain fan bases are saying that we've got this. You know, all the memes flying around, you know, the free buses and the free triple-decker buses, because I don't see any of that. I just see that we've literally got a squad of players very similar to this. I think our squad numbers are very similar to Brighton's. They're not that far off. And I don't hear that conversation for Brighton, but it is for Chelsea, maybe because of the money that's been spent. But going into our defensive mids, obviously Caicedo, Lavia, we have to try and keep Lavia fit, Caicedo fit as well. Into the central midfield roles, Enzo and Casadei. Now, obviously, remember, Casadei was at Leicester with Enzo Maresca last season and didn't really feature that much. And I'll be honest, I don't see him playing a massive role this season. So you look at Enzo in that role, he's going to have to get forward a lot more. Caicedo or Lavia, one of the two, are going to have to be picked out of them. I can't see Enzo being dropped because he's been made captain pretty much almost under all of the time that Maresca's been at the club so far in the Premier League. So where I would say we have maybe a little bit too much cover and maybe a player will have to be moved on is in our attacking roles, our attacking midfield roles, because you look at the attacking midfielders there, Christopher Nkunku, João Felix, Kieran Dewsbury-Hall, Carney Chukwuemeka, Kellerman as well. You know, obviously on the left side, we've got Pedro Neto, Jadon Sancho's just come in now as well, Mikhailo Mudryk and Tariq George, and then Cole Palmer and Noni Madueke on the right. Now, that is, for me, where the dilemma is. Now, if you're talking about, but even saying that, I'm going to say this. Dewsbury Hall is a squad filler. He's going to play certain games. He's missed a lot of football as well, so his fitness levels need to be upped a lot. Carney Chukwuemeka and Kellerman, I think Kellerman's even injured at the moment, but them two, I don't see them playing week in, week out. Again, I think they're squad fillers. You need those sort of players in your team. As I said, you're going to need to rotate it a lot. So I think you're going to need those sort of players to come in and do a job in a Carabao Cup game, in an FA Cup game against Barrow or whoever. You know, you're going to need those sort of players in the team. Now, Christopher Nkunku is a player you need to keep fit. João Felix is a player that you need to keep fit. Cole Palmer, Noni Madueke. I honestly think Mikhailo Mudryk will be moved on in the summer. So again, you're talking about the players on that left side, Neto, Sancho. That's it really. You know, Tariq George is there, and Maresca's clearly seen something in the 18-year-old that he likes because he's played against Servette already. But I still think we haven't got that much depth on the flanks either. Cole Palmer and Noni Madueke, that's only 2 players. That's no more than Liverpool have, or no more than United have, or no more than City have. So, when everyone keeps talking about the squad depth, I think this is a really good illustration to show that actually, yeah, we do have a bit of depth in key areas, but we don't have squad depth across the team at all, which is what the narrative seems to be. Now, our attackers, we know that Fofana and Washington are not going to be kicking any footballs for Chelsea in the Premier League this season. We just know that for a fact. So you're looking at Nicholas Jackson, which worries me because it now looks like he's got 9 years left on his contract. Mark Gu as well, another player that is young, 18 years of age, still has a lot to learn in the league as a at the club that he's come to now. So there's no squad depth there, which is why we're trying to get Victor Osimhen or someone of that, that sort of level that can try and score us 20 goals a season into the club. So when I see that kind of gives me a true illustration of where we are in terms of the squad. We've got to mention Gabriel, as it says in the report here. Angelo Gabriel moved on. We made £6 million profit for the player. So this is what the club are doing now. I think this is what the club are doing. I'm going to be honest. I feel that this period under Todd Bowley and co has been the most positive, and that is not me saying that we're doing amazing or we're playing amazing football or all the rest of it. But when you think back to when they took it over, appointing Graham Potter, sacking Thomas Tuchel, appointing Graham Potter, sacking him, bringing in Frank Lampard, bringing in Maurizio Pochettino, and all of the kind of things that have happened in between those spells, in between those managers, this feels like the one time now where I can see a little bit of direction. I can see patterns of play on the pitch. I can see what we're trying to do. I can see all those things happening. Under Potter, under Pochettino, maybe more so Potter, but under Pochettino, there was times maybe the back end of the season we got to see what he was trying to implement. But throughout that time, it was difficult to understand what we were doing for 60% of that season. It was only the back end of the season we saw a bit of form, we saw a bit of results, we saw a bit of style of play from Pochettino. The system seemed to be working, but I'm seeing it already with Maresca. I'm seeing what he's trying to do. I actually like the fact he's told certain players, you're not in the team, you're not in my team, you're not playing. I like that about him because, one thing that I don't think we got under Potter essentially as well. Obviously Frank Lampard interim, so it's not really fair to assess him, but under Potter and Pochettino, neither of them really looked like they had a clear role around the table with the ownership. And I feel like Maresca, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, maybe I'm just talking a bit too early, but I feel like he's got a say at the table. I don't want Sterling at the club, so let's move him on. Ben Chilwell, he's not in the team, let's move him on. And I feel like it's only now we're going to see that we probably won't see players maybe who get signed now on these these long-term contracts. Maybe going forward that might not be a thing, but Maresca seems like he's got a bit more say in what happens at the club, and maybe that's a different direction the ownership want to try and go into. It hasn't worked with Potter or Pochettino, didn't work with Tuchel, so maybe they're allowing the manager to have a bit more of a say. And let's be honest, Italian managers are like that. They're fiery. They want their voice heard regardless of whether you want to hear it or not. And he seems to be doing well, Maresca. I'm really impressed with how we started with our games. We're really unfortunate against Crystal Palace. We obviously played really well and killed the game against Wolves, and I thought we played well against Man City. We should have beaten Servette in the second leg, but look, these are little teething problems that I think any club with a new manager is going to have, with the amount of players that we've brought in and got rid of as well. It's always going to take time, and I think we have to be patient with Maresca. I'm already seeing certain people in the fan base talking nonsense already, but those are the sort of fans that even if they go to the game, they're at the stadium, fair enough, but those sort of fans are the reason why the club is probably going in a direction in terms of the fan base as it is, because those are the ones with the big platforms that people are listening to all the time, and half of them talk nonsense. They just talk nonsense, and they go to the game. Some of them get free tickets, some of them are in the hands of certain people in certain pockets and whatever, but they just talk nonsense. And honest fans will say that there has to be patience and calmness around his squad now, because one, it's a very youthful squad. As I said before a couple of videos ago, we've lost a lot of experience in Thiago Silva. Before that, Cesar Spilicueta, even like a Mateo Kovacic. We've lost a lot of experience in that squad now. So Sterling was there. Chilwell, I think now is probably the most, in terms of age-wise, is probably the most experienced that we've got still at the club. Then you're looking at maybe like a Reece James after that. So, we've lost a lot of experience in terms of maturity, age around the club. It's going to take time. Look, I think the likes of Mudryk need to be gone. I think we need to get rid of a centre back and bring in a more experienced one. Matt Hummels was literally there. I think he's signing for Roma today. He would have been a key defender for us to get in and just give some experience to that back line. Maybe you don't sign Tosin, but you go and get Matt Hummels instead. For me, that would have been a brilliant signing for us. But it's going to take time with this squad, and I think we have to be patient. I'm seeing signs of good things on the pitch. I just think we need to execute them a bit better going forward. We had opportunities against Crystal Palace after they scored. We didn't take them. So I think we have to just play the way that Maresca wants them to play in that style, which the team look like they're doing. But it's a long journey, and it's the first time under Todd Boehly and co, like I said, the Blue Co, whoever else you want to call them, that I'm seeing some positive signs from this club. And we've got to back the team. We've got to back the team. There's no point moaning about, 3 games in, moaning about certain players if they're not performing well. Let them get them rhythm in, let them get understanding. João Felix has got to come in and understand how Cole Palmer's playing and how Pedro Neto's playing and how Jadon Sancho's got to do the same when he plays and all the rest of it. And I think we just need to give the manager and these players some real time to embed, because if we press restart on this project again, we're going to be back at square one. We're going to be bringing in more players and offloading more players as well, and having to try and balance the books out again. So yeah, we just need to be patient throughout, I think, and that's what we can do as Chelsea fans. But let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you happy with the club now the window's shut? Are you happy with the squad that we've got? What will happen with Ben Chilwell? Should we sign Victor Osimhen in the winter window? Is it worth the money and worth the hassle again of going through that transfer saga? Let me know what you think. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll be back very soon with another video.